So if the narcissists aren't that bad, can't you just stay with them? I mean, it's easier on the economy, and it takes a lot of energy to go through a separation. And how about the kids? Isn't it better if you just stay at least until they're grown? That's a question that I think many of us struggle with. I struggled with it. And I thought that, the best thing in my situation is to stay. It will put me at less risk. It will create stability for our children. And to be honest, I didn't know how I was to ever get free. I was so entangled. I had a huge loan in my name. He was controlling the finances, and I felt responsible for him. And I knew that, if I try to leave, there will be chaos, and I don't know what will happen. So it felt really scary. So this way of thinking made me stay for a long time. Now it has been, soon it will be 22 months since I left. And now, even though all of those things that I feared would happen actually happened. So he tried to end my life. I had to flee with our kids, call the police, go into hiding under protected identity. I moved 4 times. I have spent a lot of money and to pay double rent, and all those things happened. But from what I've learned during the time that passed, or that has gone by since the separation, I now look at things much differently. And I realized that even though I was feeling that, well, it's not that bad, I can handle it, it was very bad, and I would not be able to go back and handle that. It's like if in the movie Aladdin, when the what's it called in English, the spirit, the genie comes out of the bottle, then he don't want to be pressed inside it again, because it was such a tiny space. It was so, I was so pressed, and I had gotten to that place. It took 21 years of being in that relationship for me to get in that mental space. And I wouldn't be able to cram myself back, and not even for a week, not even for a day. For the first year, I had nightmares of waking up and being back there. But I would like to go through the 3 main reasons why, what is the risk of staying, and what would you gain by leaving? And even if you have left, it's a good thing to be reminded of what the cost is of being in these type of relationships. So the 3 costs, and none of them has to do with your mental health. That's obvious. You are getting put down, at least, and nagged at, criticized. And that, of course, takes a toll on your confidence, and you are also not being loved. When you're staying in that relationship, you're not being loved, you're missing out on a real relationship. Those are the obvious reasons, but I have 3 other reasons for not staying. The first one is that your priorities and your priorities and your life purpose and what you're here on earth to do, all of those things get twisted when you're in a relationship. So I used to be a big fan of writing out my goals. I used to have a 5-year plan and a 1-year plan. Of course, it was adapted to like what he would accept, but I tried, for example, to like simultaneously while I was getting my medical license. That was one of the goals. Like, I have to just push through and get the license, and then we will have a better economy, and then things will be easier on us. And I have to lose some weight, and I had all those like goals and dreams, and like I had to raise the children, and I had to keep things in order, and I had to. Because it wasn't enough, then I had to get some extra income. So I tried to write children's books. I was hoping that, like that hobby, I could turn it into something that would make me some extra money to pay off our debts. I was so focused on all these goals that I was hoping to achieve, and like in reality, what I was hoping to achieve was just his approval of me and his love, and that I would finally feel like worthy, and like I would be able to be at peace. But that was a lie. That would never happen. Like, even no matter how much I did it, like that's like built into the relationship. It doesn't matter how much I would be able to achieve, then he would always, like, he would be happy for a bit, but then he would find something else because he wanted to create a conflict. He wanted me to be inferior, and he wanted excuses for running off and being mad at me, and so he was creating all of that. But and even as I understood that, well, he is narcissistic, I will never be loved by him. Like, he will always criticize me. It has nothing to do with me. Even as I understood that, then it was still, he was still like taking up so much mental space. I had to keep things in order. Like, I didn't realize it, but for example, I always had like the home was cleaned and everything in order, and food like in the fridge and on the table, and everything prepared, and it would had to be just so. And like that took a lot of energy. I thought, well, I also like things to be neat, and I was just used to this routine. But it took up so much space, and his drama and conflict, it took up so much energy. So I had nothing left to dream with, and like I would automatically, like, if someone suggested that let's go and do something, or I would feel like a heaviness, like, oh no, I have to do that also. Like, it was so much that there was no place for joy. And like, what I discovered after I left, and it took a while, but the spring that was, like the spring of 2025, when it was like my first spring in freedom, because like the spring before I was being stalked and like terrorized by him. But I started to feel this like joy when I walked, like even as I was going through to work, like seeing the flowers spring up and not having anyone who would argue with me, and not having anything like that had to be done. There was no, like, I could take care of the household as I wanted. There was freedom. I was in charge of my life, and And I started to feel that, yeah, this is living. I had forgotten how it felt like. I didn't know that I wasn't living. That I was just trying to get through the days. That's the first reason why staying, if they're not so bad, is the wrong thinking, because that's really bad to give up, to not even have any dreams, because all you dream about is just having some peace of mind. I remember when I was at university, and I was doing too much back then, but I was completing pharmacology program at the same time as having started med school first year, and then I was also part of a research group, and I had a friend who was doing the exact same thing, and she was also a type A student, so we studied, and then we went to the research group, and we were never having any time off. And one day she told me that, sometimes I wish that I would just go to jail. Not a long sentence, but just 1 or 2 months, because then I would be forced to sleep. Just longing for it all to stop for a while so that you can rest. That was my main longing for many of those years that I stayed with him. Now another reason is your health. Before I got the kid, or even when I had my 2 kids, when they were small in the beginning, I felt like I have so much energy, it will never run out. So I would be up with the kids or in the evening, and then I would be going all day, and I wouldn't feel tired. As the years went by, I started to have problems sleeping. I had heart palpitations. The last year of the relationship, and especially after the separation, I gained a lot of weight, and I'm struggling with burnout, and I'm still struggling with that. And on some days when I'm having a lot of symptoms, then I'm feeling like I wish I had left a little bit earlier, before I had all this brain fog and the burnout symptoms. It would be so much easier to start over if I wasn't so exhausted, if I wasn't so overweight. But my case is not that bad. But for the long-term partners of narcissists, in many cases, I've seen it end with major health issues. So there is a series about the cult called Nexium. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend it. It's really, really good. And the leader of the cult, his name was Keith. I can't remember the last name. He's in prison now. That's good. Well, in the series, you will see that his long-term partner got cancer. And that's just one person, but there are a lot of those persons. My father, when my mother kicked him out, he had developed Parkinson's disease, and a few years later he got cancer. And at the hospital, I've met some patients who have been in these toxic relationships and have gotten really the water is really cold here. See if I can dip. It's September now. But it's quite refreshing. Well, working in the healthcare system, I have seen examples of several people who have been in these toxic relationships, and they have developed different types of diseases. Now, and I've heard this pattern repeated by several others. Like, even if you can deal with the relationship now, even if it's not so bad, how about in a few years? What if you get sick and they leave you? Like, they might leave you in a really bad situation. I once had a female patient. She was like middle-aged, and she had come into the hospital with a major stroke. And her husband, well, he was toxic. He had abused her, even physically. And like during the hospital stay, he was in and he begged her to like forgive him, and eventually she did. And I met her a few months after she was discharged, and then he had left her. So he didn't want her to leave on her terms, but since she was sick, he did leave her. That's a very horrible, like it's very, very hard to start over when you are sick or when you have an illness, even though it's not impossible, and it will probably be beneficial for your health if you're away from the toxic individual. Then that's another reason why it might hurt you to stay for too long. And the third reason is the most like closest to my heart. I stayed for many years thinking that it's better for my children. It's better for them to have a stable home. And like I can deal with his moods. I know how to handle it now, so they're not that affected. Like they don't see a lot of what he's doing, or like anyway, like they have one stable and healthy parent in me, and like he's not part of, like he's not even here. Like when they are home, he's not here that much. So that was my thinking. And eventually I did leave because that was no longer true. Like he started to act more erratic, and like even in front of the kids. And there were a few instances where they got affected, and I was afraid of what would happen if I stayed. So that was the thing that, like one of the things that made me leave, like for their sake. But what my husband said, and what I believe that many narcissists think based on how they're acting later, what he said when they were small was that when the kids are small, they will need you, but as they grow up, they won't need you anymore. And I don't know, like he said that a few times to me, and I felt very hurt, like, won't they need me? Like, I'm their mother. And but in hindsight, I believe that, like, if I had stayed, because that, like, he was starting to, I think he was just in the beginning of starting to turn them against me. My kids were 7 and 8 when I left. So, yeah, like he was starting to favorize that. He was favorizing them over me. But I thought that that's just like he doesn't like me, that's why. But in the end, it started to become more than that. And like he would buy them things for my money, but he would say that it's from him. Like it wouldn't be included. And I felt that he was, like in small steps, starting to turn them against me. And that's what I've seen, like what I've seen in my own family, and what happens to many healthy partners is that as the kids get a bit older, then there's a slow process of the parent now getting closer to the kids. Now they are their friend, and like the narcissistic parent often controls the money. So like, especially for the kid that they really like, they buy them gifts and they do stuff with them, and then they like talk badly about the other parent. And because the narcissist has like the power in the family, like the kids notice that, like it's not conscious, but like if you're like in a company, and then like what the boss thinks and what he says and who he invites to lunch feels really important, much more than the cleaning lady. So it's the same thing in the family, like when they're very dominating, then the kids will be affected. And like in many cases, they succeed in turning the kids against the healthy parent. And it's really heartbreaking, like even if they don't turn the kids against you, like if they teach them like their way of living and their way of thinking, like if they're teaching them that you need to like, so for example, my husband would say to our kids, like, oh, our daughter, she's so good and smart because she doesn't wave to people. Like when they say hi to her, then she doesn't even respond. And that was because she was so shy. But he would say that, yeah, she's that's the way that you should do it. Like other people should always greet you first, so that they will know that you are better. And like you shouldn't be too friendly with them. Like and he was starting to talk more, like teach the kids stuff, share his worldview with them. And like even if they would not have been turned against me, like just having my children start to reason like a narcissist, or having them, because I also, like after left, I also learned about a few instances, like when I wasn't there, he was acting in a completely different way. So like they were also not being treated properly. So they would have been affected, like if I had stayed longer, then they would have become more affected. And I'm very happy that I left. So I'm able to, like while they're still young, I'm able to give them a healthy home, and I'm able to help them work through their emotions, to help them recognize in others, like in friends and in family, what is healthy and what is manipulative, and help them the best I can to become healthy adults. And I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy that I left. And the thinking that it's not that bad, well, you don't know if it will become, like you don't know what will happen in the future. There is no black and white answer, like this is my take, and every person's situation is different. There may be very valid reasons why you can't leave right away. But I would like to ask you to at least reflect about it. At least start to dream about it. How would it look like if you left? And how would you be able to do it? Starting to think about the possibilities that might be there could open your mind up for at least being ready when there is a chance. Sometimes we get so used to the way things are that we think that they will never change. But the reality is that things are always changing. Nothing stays the same. Okay, thank you for sharing this moment with me. I'm Emma holding up a light over the bridge. See you in the next video.